Welcome to our last video of our Tasmanian cycle tour. This video covers from Hobart to Devonport, including our stay in Liffey Falls. Leaving Hobart through the wharf area. The intercity cycleway which took us all the way to Claremont. After leaving Hobart, it became so windy, with recorded gusts of 100 km an hour, that we called it a day after 15 kilometres in Claremont. Claremont is the home of the famous Cadbury chocolate factory. Unfortunately, they no longer do tours through the factory. Because of the short day to Claremont and we now had a tailwind, we decided to make for Ross, 100 kilometres and over 1,000 metres of climbing in the day. Our first point of interest for the day was negotiating the roundabout and bridge at Bridgewater in peak hour traffic. We were totally unaware of the bicycle path on the other side of the bridge, but as you will see, once we committed, we had no further choice. After leaving Bridgewater, apart from a couple of detours, our route for the day was on the Midland Highway, the main highway connecting Hobart and Launceston. Luckily for us, there was a good shoulder most of the way along. Our first detour for the day was into Kempton, where we stopped to have coffee at the little shop of Echoes. The distillery at Kempton was one of the few we had passed during opening hours when we had hoped to make a visit, but unfortunately it was closed for 3 days due to a private function. After Kempton, we crossed Spring Hill, the highest point on the Midland Highway. Our next detour off the main highway was into Oatlands for lunch. Lunch on the lake with some topiary nearby. Behind where we had lunch was Callington Mill, the only authentic 19th century tower mill in the Southern Hemisphere. It was restored to full working order in 2010 and supplies flour to artisan bakers and chefs. As you come into Ross, you cross the old stone bridge. This bridge was built by 2 convict stonemasons using a convict crew. The stonemasons put unique features on each of the ornamental arches. This bridge was completed in 1836. After the bridge, you then enter the main intersection of Ross where the War Memorial stands in the centre. The 4 corners of this intersection each have names. Temptation, where the hotel stands, Recreation, where the old town hall stood, Salvation, where the Roman Catholic Church stands, and Damnation, where the jail used to stand and is now a private house. Running alongside the river was the Lover's Lane, which had a very poignant plaque at the start. Ross was one of our favourite places, with interesting historic buildings and a great camping ground. But we had to leave, straight into a headwind for 65 kilometres as we went to Cressy along the Macquarie River Valley. distance are the Western Tiers, our next destination after Cressy. At Cressy we stayed in a cabin because there were no camping facilities, but one surprise we did have was the most delicious meal at the hotel, and would highly recommend that for anybody going there. Not long after leaving Cressy, we turned left to go to Liffey Falls, and this provided us with the Western Tiers as a beacon to guide us on the ride. Liffey Falls are part of a temperate rainforest. There are two walks within the rainforest. A 1.5 hour walk through the rainforest, which was bought by Bob Brown to stop logging, and was the very first piece of land bought by Bush Heritage Australia. The other walk is the 3-hour return walk to the falls and the upper car park. This tree in the way. We left the Liffey camping ground in a slight drizzle. The climb out of the Western Tiers was quite steep in patches, and at one stage we spent about 10 minutes walking. After that, it was a great ride all the way to Deloraine. We're descending into on the way to Deloraine. And so we leave Deloraine on our last day of riding in Tasmania, going to Devonport to get on the Spirit of Tasmania to return to Victoria. On the way we get to see the topiary at Railton, a memorial to an AFL legend in Latrobe, and a very special ride along the Mersey River that ended all too soon. last day in Devonport we visited the Maritime Museum, which is certainly worth a visit to understand the history of Bass Strait, and we took a picnic on the coast with these spectacular views. If you would like to follow more of our cycle tours, then please subscribe.